Hello everybody, this is Jimmy and welcome back to Jimmy Does Knitting. This is a podcast where I talk about a knitting topic that is germane to me for the time being and we just go through it. This one's going to be a little bit more involved, so excuse the editing. I avoided making this video for a while, but I think we just got to do it because it is time. In case you're new, welcome. I'm Jimmy. I'm an expat living in Amsterdam, and I took up knitting sometime during the pandemic, late pandemic, and I really like it, and I really like knitting sweaters. But they cannot all be winners, and so that's what we're going to discuss today. Today, we're talking about fixing our favorite knits. So I have two sweaters that I would say are clearly my favorites. One that I'm wearing is the Saven sweater by Meghan Babin of Hudson and West. And another one is a self-drafted Gurnsey that relates to like Dutch traditional patterns and stuff. And they're amazing. They've worn well, but we can improve. So the first one is the Saven, and I'm going to try to run through this and maybe put in some B-roll. Let's see what I can figure out. This is the Saven. It is with Hudson and West Forge in the color Raven. This is the recommended yarn for it. This yarn, if I could afford this yarn, if I could have it with me at all times, I would use this so often. It's a bit pricey, but it is phenomenal. This was a Black Friday treat yourself sort of deal for this sweater. I spent a lot of money, but this is like some yarn. You need some treat yourself knits every once in a while. So this is the worsted yarn. It's 20 to 18 stitches in 27 rows for 4 inches of 10 centimeters. How many yards is this? Do we know? It says on the front, it's 70% merino, 30% Corriedale, which is a really nice combination. I haven't knit with Corriedale before. It's 235 yards, 215 meters for 100 grams. So that's the yarn that we're talking about. And then this is the sweater. So the sweater is knit in pieces, but it's fine because it's this beautiful Aran all over cable works texture. I don't know if you can see it, but like, look at this central panel. Isn't it phenomenal? Super obsessed. So you knit it in pieces. You start with the sleeve, and the sleeves are knit flat, and you go one sleeve, two sleeve, you knit the front and the back. It does have a bit of a saddle shoulder on it. I'm not exactly sure if you can see that, but the sleeve design goes with the neck, and then there on all these seams there's this beautiful slip stitch border that really makes for a nice way of making it a little bit sturdier. With all these cables and the drape that it causes, the seams really help. I'm team seam. I think it's great. Anyway, this is a dream knit and I absolutely love it. The one thing I do not love about this is this puckering at the neck. Can you see that? It has a little bit here. I can tell you exactly what went wrong. I messed up on the pattern. You knit both of these parts at the same time on either side of the neck, which was a game changer for me. But I skipped a decrease row, and I was like, oh, it's not really going to be a problem. It's just one stitch off. It's going to be fine. It will block out. Whatever. It didn't block out. So I have this puffiness to this. And I don't like it because I think this is a beautiful sweater and it distracts from it. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that in this video. It's going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to take some yarn and mattress stitch it so this lies flat, something like this, and I'll show you the whole process. And that is the idea for fixing this lovely sweater. Okay, we are back. The second sweater I'd like to talk about is this Gurnsey that I made. It's amazing. So let's go over the yarn. The yarn was a cone of Holst Supersoft in black, which this is a new one because I am obsessed with this stuff and I use it a lot. So I did this paired with a Rowan felted tweed. And the Rowan felted tweed is a 50-gram ball that's 50% wool, 25% alpaca, and 25% viscose. So this does have a bit of a drape to it, although I think a lot of the alpaca and the viscose are the tweedy colors. And then I wanted the Supersoft to make it A, a worsted weight, and B, to strengthen it a little bit, but it did drape a little bit more than I anticipated, which looking back now, of course it would a little bit, but I think it's fine, really. I would change this pattern slightly had I knit it again, but I mean, it's really so comfortable. It's one of my favorites, especially after wearing it for over a season. It's really relaxed to my body, and I think I look good in it. I think it's really nice. So these are the yarns, and part of the reason why I paired the felted tweed with the Holst is because I knit a whole sweater out of this stuff, and it was crazy. I put it on me, I put it on Mr. Does Knitting. It did not fit. There was something weird with the neck, and I had like chicken wings, and like it wasn't the one. I tore it out. I'm not even gonna say who designed it. And then so I wanted to use the yarn, and I figured this was a good thing. It relates to where I live right now, which is the Netherlands, and they had, you know, those fishing sweaters, a Gansey, if you will, or Gurnsey. They're usually related towards the UK, but the Dutch had a rich tradition, and I did it. And I did it in a motif that was fairly simple. I did an easy one, just so I didn't want to think a whole lot, but I did want a new, unique pattern. So how this was created was I cast it on from the bottom, and I worked in the round. So the bottom is using this cast on, which is what we're going to address in this video. This was a 2x2 cast on that I learned from, not Petite Knit, Very Pink Knits, and it's a folded like crochet almost thing, but it has a very clean edge, and I think it looks very nice. The problem is I did not do it with the proper gauge, and it really like sucked in, and it I thought it would block out. It did not block out, and with time it's sort of rolling under, and the hem is not it's not nice. I think you can see it here. It just sort of like does this, you know. That's not perfect. I think it brings like weight to my hips. I'm not really into it. Also, the sleeves are a lot longer with the ribbing and the cuffs. I tried to make it more traditional with just like 1 inch of 2x2 ribbing, but I think we're gonna change that. I think I want it to be the same length of ribbing as the sleeves here, and a little longer. Anyway, we'll get to that. So I knit it in the round, bottom up, split for the front, split for the back, combine them, knit sleeves, top down. This does not have a gusset. It should probably have a gusset because the sleeves are a little snug, but that's it. For the neck, now this neck I've already modified because I hated it before. I did a flat neck before, which was fine, but the pickup rate was wrong. I did the thing where it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and this was just too big. I like a tighter neck anyway. It just makes me feel, I have a cold neck thing. I don't know. It's whatever. So it was too loose. I thought it was a bit boat necky. It was coming down to here. I also wanted to try a folded over collar at the time, so I picked up fewer stitches, I knit the collar, and I folded it over. So this has already been modified, and that modification took some time, but the neckband was knit separately, so it was super easy to rip out, and neckbands have like, what, 100 stitches-ish, maybe? Especially in worsted weight. Like, it didn't really take much time to unpick and then re-knit, so I'm very happy that I did that. And now it's time for the bottom. So as I said, the bottom is too tight. I don't like it. It's too tight, and I think I want it longer ribbing. Now this has some challenges to it. If we look at the length of this, you can't really see it very well here, but it's a bit too long. I think it grew lengthwise a little bit more than I was anticipating. And so I think when I adjust the band that I'm going to make it ultimately the whole garment shorter. Because of the felted tweed and the Holst and stuff, they're quite sticky yarns. So I'm not going to be able to save any of the yarn that I used because it's quite felted. I mean, it makes it really warm and really cozy and nice knit, and especially it softens up over time. But that also makes it like near impossible to salvage the yarn, especially because the felted tweed was already ripped out from another thing. I'm not gonna do it. I have extra yarn as I've just showed, so we're gonna knit it from the bottom. Now, because I knit bottom up, and what I will be doing for the ribbing is knitting top down, we're going to have a problem. Because when you knit bottom up, your stitches look like this, which might be a swear word in some places, but they look like this. And when you knit bottom down, the stitches are going to hang like this. So they don't match. It's like going like this. So what will happen is exactly this, where you'll have like a half a stitch off from the ribbing and the main stockinette stitch from the garment. Now, does this bother me? Not a tremendous amount. Would it be nice if the ribbing and the other stuff flowed great, like without the half a stitch glitch? I think I would be the only one that would notice it. It's a change in texture, so it's not like I'm doing stockinette to stockinette. I think that would be weird. And I think that that's what we're going to do. So in order to do this, and I will explain it more in like a close-up, what we're going to do is something, we're going to live dangerously is what we're going to do here. We are going to put in a safety line in, I'm just showing you my tummy, probably somewhere right about here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have to cut the work because it doesn't unravel, knitting only unravels from the top. So it would unravel this way, but I need it to unravel this way, going up. And that's just not how it acts. It's not gonna happen. I'd have to pick it. No, no, no. So I would mark up to a point, probably a row or two below where I want the ribbing to start, and then you cut the bottom part off of it. So this is all going to be gone. And then what I'm going to do from there is tink back to one row, probably. And so I have the stitches all nice and lined up and stuff, and that will take some time. And then from that row on my needles, I'll just take probably a smaller needle. I think I worked this in a 5mm. I'll probably take like a 4.5, 4-ish millimeter needle. And then I will just take the loops that are on my needle, and then I will knit the ribbing down again. So that is the plan with this one to make it wearable for upcoming fall. It's actually pretty nice in Amsterdam right now, but it can change in 2 seconds. I think next week's gonna be rainy. And these sweaters need to come out because they're my favorite. I love to wear them. And I wanna make sure that I've spent so much time and effort on these things that like, if I don't modify them, then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to wear them, but they're like also my two favorites. So it's like, why would I not want to wear my favorite thing when I know that I can fix it? Super easy. It's just knitting. Like, it's more knitting time. And, you know, I don't have like finished objects and finished objects, but it's something that it's like really fixes my knits. I think a lot of the knitting podcasts are about, you know, inspiration and brand new and look what I'm doing, but people don't talk about where and how things change and how things work. So I wanted to do that with this video because I spent a lot of time and money, and I want to continue wearing and loving and showing off, quite frankly, these beautiful knits. So I would encourage you to do that so you can wear your hand knit wardrobe. That's the whole point. It's more sustainable, it's slow fashion, it's something custom, and if you don't like it, then you can change it. One quick tip that I'm going to say for this is, regardless if you knit something top down or whatever your style is, I would suggest, because of things like this, is knitting the collar separately. Now, I know a lot of patterns, especially top-down raglans, have it where the collar's incorporated or maybe even folding down. And I think that that's a bit dicey because if anything's going to go, it's the elasticity of the collar. And especially these folded ones, they really expand quickly, which is why people put elastic in all the time. But if you have some extra yarn and you need to adjust it, or like you have makeup all over it, or whatever the case may be, I really think that knitting the collar separate is going to help make a knit last you a lot longer. So that's my rant. Let's get into some close-ups. All right, so we have the sweater here, and what I've done so far is I've marked a couple of things. This here is where I want the bottom of the sweater to be. So that's a good measurement. So you can see I'm taking off about 2.5 inches there. I want the cuff to be about the same size as the sleeve, and it looks like I did about 2.5 inches and then I bound off. So that's what I'm gonna do for the ribbing down here, which would put the ribbing start right here by this pale pink marker. So what we're going to do then essentially is chop this all off right here. It's about 5 inches. And then we're going to re-knit all of this. The first step in doing that is one, taking the sides and snipping them a little bit so we get a little bit of a flat lie. Right now it's a little too tight. Then what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this a little bit closer, is this is where I want the row to be. We're going to be cutting about 2 rows or so below. I want to take, this is knit bottom up, so the V's are going this way. I want to take the right leg of each stitch on this side and put it on my needles. Now, I do not want a flare, so I'm going with the same size needle that I knitted on, which was a 5 millimeters. I used a different set, I think, for this, but I like my Chow Goose, so we're going with this. So 5 millimeter needles will pick up the right stitch of everything on this row, and then we're going to cut 1 row below it and rip that out. So here's a close-up on the work. As you can see, I picked up the right stitch of everything with my needle. And what I did is I found the beginning of round, or what I think is the beginning of round, and I put it here, and I put the stitch markers here. So we're gonna cut into this, and we're gonna cut below, and we're gonna unpick it. And part of the reason why we want to do this a row before is, one, if we made a mistake picking up anything, we don't really mess it up too much. And 2 is the beginning of round. So if we need to adjust where this is, it might shift 2 or 3 stitches on either side. Then we know what to do. Now, I'm gonna film myself cutting into this, but keep in mind that to unravel nicely, it needs to go this way because it goes from top to bottom because it was knit from bottom up. If we try to unravel this way, it's not gonna happen. We need to pick it out. So I'm going to slice into this piece of work and pick it all out. So now as you can see, the sweater is significantly shorter. I have removed about 5 inches of knitting. It's quite a bit. That's, I don't know, 11, 12 centimeters, something like that. So this is all gone from the bottom of it. And now we have this. All of the stitches are on the needle and ready to knit. I did get the beginning of row correct. So there's a little tail right here that I can use to weave in for this end. Had I not been able to achieve this, I would have to tank back a row and then like cut a tail and do that. So that worked out quite well. But from now on, it's pretty easy. What we're gonna do is put a beginning of row marker here. We're gonna pick up some yarn again and then just knit 2x2 ribbing until the end, and then we should be done. Hey everybody, I am back and I am done. I'm done fixing my two favorite sweaters. We're going to make this short because even though the Dutch summer has been very rainy and cold, today it is really hot and really nice, and I am wearing worsted white sweaters. So let's get through this. I am wearing the Saven sweater. It was really easy. I'm gonna get all close up in you, so like, I just shaved. Hopefully you can see this. I'll put some pictures up too. But what I did is I just mattress stitched along right here and put the cables, this cable right here, I don't even know if you can see this, closer to the neckline to take out the bulk that was causing the puff. So now there's some on the inside, but it's really about where the collar is. So this is fixed. It looks so much nicer. I'm glad I did it. It barely took any yarn, any time, and I will wear this more often now. And it was a very expensive sweater, and it's a beautiful, beautiful sweater. So I'm glad I could do that. And then we have the Gurnsey, which is over here. I don't know why I put it so far away from me. So the problem with the Gurnsey, as you can tell from the beginning of the video, was the cast on was way too tight and it was puckering, and it was also a bit long. So I tried a technique and I used the wrong needle size with the cast on, and then the fabric grew and all of this stuff. So just as a reminder, this is what I have cut off. Now, I tried to make this a little bit more historic at the time with like a 1 inch-ish, 2 centimeters-ish cast on of 2x2 ribbing, and then I went into everything. But I didn't like that as much, and I don't care necessarily about the historic value of it as much as I did as when I knitted it. So I changed it up. But yes, I cut off a lot of knitting from this sweater. And I gave it a wash, I put on the bottom, and we're all set. So for this, we've been through everything, but this is the bottom now. It matches, I basically knit in 2x2 knitting until it was the same length as the sleeve cuff, which was a little bit longer. And then I just made it the same length here, and then that ended up being what it was. It was a little over 2.5 inches, so it was a little bit longer than I anticipated knitting, but the length of it is wonderful. I tried to shoot some B-roll. It's hard to tell because I just have, it's a black thing, so you can't really tell a whole lot from it, but it hits better, it hits a little bit higher, and of course it like spaces out now. So for the hem, I did end up going to a 4.5 millimeter needle. I know I did a 5 millimeter for this, but when I went to do that for the bottom, it was just a little too, sorry, I'm getting attacked by birds. They're all flying right at me, outside of course. But it was just too big because this whole garment had felted a little bit. I didn't really want it to be cinched in because that's what I was essentially trying to fix, but this ended up being about the perfect gauge. So I went down a little bit of a needle, and then yeah, so here you have it. You have the thing, and it looks good. Of course, as I said before, the stitches are slightly off because I knit in 2 different directions, but nobody's gonna know that except for me, and I'm totally fine with it. I did do my 2x2 tubular bind off. I think I would do it differently next time, but I did a tubular bind off. I love a sewn bind off, but for 2x2 rib, what I did was like a twisted stitch where I switched it so it was knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and I should have just, I think, done the tubular bind off from there, but I did the setup rows, so it's a nice curve and curl. So you do like the knit one, slip with yarn in front, knit one, slip with yarn in front, and then purl one, slip with yarn in back, purl one, slip with yarn in back. and that it muddled the edge a little bit more. I mean, it's a nice finish. It looks like a nice finish, and it's perfect tension and everything. So I'm glad I did that. I don't know if I'd do the pearl with the slipping setup rose. But yeah, these two things are fixed, and I have some ends sticking out, but that's usual for me. And I'm super happy. So thank you all for joining. I hope this is not a huge editing mess. And if you like this, like, subscribe. Don't forget that you can always revisit your nets and you can tear them out and fix them and transform them into something else. You made them once, you can make them again, and it's a custom-made piece. So, like I said before, just make sure you get something you love, and if it doesn't bring you joy and you can easily change it, go for it, because that's what this whole thing is all about. Hopefully I'll have some exciting stuff coming up. I made some orders that I want to go over. There were some sales and some new garments that are coming up and all this fun stuff. But those are next episodes and hopefully some pattern releases if I get to it. Anyway, thank you all. I will see you later. Bye.